I'm going to call Ria Bond.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm pleased to rise on behalf of New Zealand First and take this call in the House on the financial review debate examining the performance of the Ministry for Primary Industries. In the last 12 months for NPI, Mr. Chair, I want to say that it has been quite a woeful performance and has been it's been painful to watch. And New Zealand First knows that this is not the fault of the Ministry at all, or the fine people that work within it, but the blame solely relies on this government, sir. This National League government has become so distant, so divorced, so detached from the grassroots of their farming foundation, that where the genesis of its party itself sat, that it no longer actually understands what makes the primary sector tick, to the point that it has lost touch with its origins, and those origins are beginning to realise the fact that this will be a damning fact at the 2017 election. Every day in New Zealand First, we're receiving phone calls from one end of the country to the other, and right across the farming and agriculture spectrum. Good people who have become completely disenfranchised with the attitude of this government due to the lack of proper understanding of the most important sector of our economy. The consequences are inadequate funding for the Ministry of Primary Industries, which is tasked with looking after the safety and security of our agriculture sector. Where is the support to our farmers right now? Where is the support that this National-led government has promised to this fundamental sector right now? It's no secret that the dairy industry is experiencing the deflation of a bubble that was always going to burst, because ironically, trends tend to repeat themselves over a period of time. When you have an out-of-touch government and who's also unfocused, a government who has forgotten about the farmers at the gate, having to wear biosecurity risks, contaminating their very livelihoods, such as the velvet leaf incursion, not only in Southland, but also in Canterbury and also in the Waikato region. This biosecurity breach will see farmers at their gate having to detect velvet leaf weeds themselves from their own resources that they should be putting back into their farms to ride this tough time out. I'm not just talking about now, Mr. Chair, I'm talking about the generations to come from the farmer's family. I'm talking about potential buyers of contaminated farms that we will see in the future, and that's a real problem. It's been said that this National League government didn't see it coming. There is a well-known saying, woven within the fabric of our society, that no man, no woman, no child should get left behind. In the case of the farming and agriculture sectors, the government has bolted and pigeonholed itself amongst the wine and tourism industries. They've been dropping the ball on traditional New Zealand-based bread and butter sectors. In other words, the marriage is over. The men, the women and the children in the farming sector have been left out in the dark. Come this time next year, they'll be back on their high horses, out rallying for voters of farmers when they've shut their door on them now. They fail to listen to their needs or even protect them from basic biosecurity threats. Now let's talk about Fonterra, the great old elephant in the room. Whilst we think we can blame Fonterra's senior management, it has to be remembered that Fonterra exists as a creature of statute. Fonterra came to the government and said, we want to be a virtual monopoly because that would give us the size and the strength that would benefit the entire country. And the government said yes, and Parliament realised that having the great bulk of our dairy industry condensed in one single entity of global proportions would be a good thing. But the government also has a responsibility to ensure that Fonterra stays true to its original aims, and the ministry tasked to oversight and look after this is adequately resourced. It's clear that NPI does not get resourced adequately to allow them to do the job that they are entrusted to do. The government's meddling hands in the financial structure of Fonterra with the 2013 Dairy Industry Restructuring Act and the cynical trading amongst farmers scheme has only made things worse. New Zealand First said so at the time, and Mr. Chair, we've been proven right by what's happening here today, what's happening now. But the greatest failing this government has heaped upon New Zealand and the primary sector is, of course, the utter lack of anything remotely realistic in terms of resourcing for our biosecurity. Minister Guy says it's his highest priority, but John Key's Auckland-focused financial and backing prioritised cabinet simply do not seem to realise how essentially important the line of defence is in New Zealand. Every biosecurity
I call Meka Whaiteri.